You have such a big mismatch, though. Your calf combined with your back irritation, with your ability to jump higher, and the understanding that when you feel good, you're going to make bad decisions. That all combines together to mean, okay, we got to have numerous things in place so that you don't make a bad decision.
It sounds like I'm not an easy fix, Craig. Welcome back to another episode of Past Your Prime, the podcast for active adults balancing training, rehab, family, and real life. I'm Alex Kiker, Velvet Voice, pro volleyball player, father of two, and someone who deals with more than a few injuries that keep coming back. I'm here with my guy, Craig Smith, at Craig Smith PT on IG with a lovely wave. He's a PT, S&C coach, and today we're diving into why old injuries return and how programming can finally break the cycle. We're trying something a little bit different here today, right, Craig?
Yeah, a little bit more of a case study. Did I wear you down?
Last episode really broke me down. I wept. I cried like a little baby. And when you were telling me you don't have to be injured all the time, I said, I don't. And you said, stop taking ibuprofen. I said, I won't.
Have you still been taking it?
Not as much. You certainly made my wife feel bad about it because she probably takes more ibuprofen than I think you would recommend. But I assume we both do at this point. So anyway, what's our topic / maybe a slightly different format for today's podcast?
Well, today we would like to use Alex as a case study, which I think this is going to be the first time we've really used you as a really clear case study. But we wanted to use you as an example, even though we know that you have your own physical therapist. And we're not going to say this is exactly what you're going to do, but it's really more a conceptual framework. Because my pushback for you for a while has been, I think your brain needs to focus on tissue capacity building, whereas your brain has been more on performance. And I think last week I was able to break through your brain for some reason.
As long as I don't come out of this one crying again, then I'll be okay.
You'll be good. You'll be good. Yeah.
So this is kind of like I'm coming to an appointment with Craig, and you're going to work through my problems and give me a framework for being a better, less injury prone or less hurt version of Alex.
Yeah, it's like a different type of Alex. And I think the idea too on this is our system that we normally work you through, we really want to get a really clear diagnosis. You have diagnoses for everything that you have. So we're not going to spend time on that. So this isn't going to be about like building a differential list. That's already happened. It's also not going to be so much just what treatments you need to do or anything like that and stuff to get your symptoms completely stable. It's more we're going to jump to how do you create a exercise framework that's focused on building your tissue capacity back without you constantly having these seemingly endless irritations.
I don't like being irritated, and as long as it's not going to make my calf shrink, I'll try anything.
Yeah, has anything caused your calf to shrink so far?
Never, no. I think becoming a father has actually increased their mass, so I've got the dad calves now.
Wow, I didn't know that was a thing.
Oh, it absolutely is. Yeah, look it up. Well researched.
Yeah, I bet there's like a really large literature behind that. Yeah, I can see that. No. So question number one, why are your injuries coming back? And I think that's the biggest thing that we want to figure out is why does it seem like every time you go and do something new, you either irritate an old injury or you come back with something new?
I don't know. Probably because I do too much. That would be my short answer, but interested in hearing your take on it.
Do you feel like you have always had that issue?
No. Probably since COVID. I kind of took that year off of pretty much doing anything physical activity wise. And it was really hard to get back from that. And then certainly got back to pretty close to where I was pre-COVID, athletic wise. I was able to dunk. That's kind of one of my key metrics in terms of my athleticism. Um, and then after breaking my wrist, it seemed like this, recurrent injury hell that we've talked about a couple of times really just kind of continued to get worse, I guess.
One of the first reasons that I think that you've struggled is your framework tends to be balls to the wall all the time, trying to maximize your gains every single workout.
The game I play is literally smashing balls, Craig.
That's and that's called a pancake.
Referring to volleyball specifically, yes. Well, and if they pancake it, then I didn't smash it. So,
You spiked it.
yeah.
In the past tense, it's a spoke. Okay.
That you can find on a bicycle.
Now, that's so stupid. So the first thing that I've noticed is that you overreach in single workouts and you underperform your long-term programming. And so the idea to me is you don't have a long-term framework. And because there's not a cohesiveness to all of the program that you're doing, you typically push too hard in single workouts.
I would say somewhat true. I've been trying to be more mindful about that, but certainly 2 or 3 months ago, I was just every workout was balls to the wall, as you said it.
So I think that that's the first thing. So your mindset, and I understand why, and you can even talk a little bit more, but you feel a little bit under the gun because you're coming into season. And this is a season that's important because it's going to be one of those where we talked before, you're making a decision of if you're going to keep playing professionally.
Right. Yeah. And it's just one of those things where my body's getting to a point where it probably can still handle the demands of a full season, but it's definitely getting harder to play multiple games, whether in the same day or even over a weekend. And so prioritizing recovery will be super important for me this year. But as you know, in my brain, it's always pushing performance and trying to continue to make gains and just get more athletic that usually puts me in this injury loophole.
Okay. So that's number one. Number two, I would also say you have a body inventory that you ignore the things that go silent, even if they're only going silent for a couple days, and you prioritize the thing that's currently hurting the most.
I would agree with that 100%. No pushback there.
So it turns into like a whack-a-mole. Like it's almost like, okay, now it's this, now it's this, now it's this.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure Sarah can say, like, I think last appointment or the appointment before, she's like, "So, what is it on the list today? What's new?" I was like, "Oh, I'm coming in with something new that's messed up or hurting or whatever it may be every appointment."
I always think that you're catching an injury over and over and over again. Number three, I think that your programming doesn't actually target issue capacity. And I know you hit a lot of things that primarily target vertical jump. Is that right?
That's my goal. Yeah.
What around vertical jump is important with volleyball?
Just being able to jump as high as possible and do it as many times as possible in a match. So I think we talked about it a little bit either last episode or the episode before that, I could be jumping a couple hundred times and trying to be able to get as close to a max jump in each one of those jumps. That's using the word jump too many times anyway. That's kind of what high level volleyball is all about, is being able to kind of push that jump performance throughout a whole match.
And would you say the thing that stops you from being able to push that jumping height is that because your legs get tired? Or is it because you start to have a change in what your tissue capacity is and you have some negative response?
It's just my right calf. If I were to like characterize it down to one thing, that torn calf really ends up limiting me in long matches or after multiple matches.
So, from a performance standpoint, the number one thing would be if we could correct it's the calf turning off faster than every other muscle not not your jump height, not your strength. That's like the number one thing that's limiting you.
Yeah.
So when I kind of walk through that, the idea is keeping that really clear in our mind, because if we lose sight of that, we'll start to veer off on other parts that aren't actually as important. So the number one thing is your ability to jump high and to sustain that jump height. So if you don't jump any higher than you currently do, are you still going to be competitive?
I would say so.
Okay.
But if I can't continue because it feels like my calf is about to cramp, that's kind of that sensation that I'm talking about in my calf, feeling like potentially a calf cramp is coming on, and that just comes from the fear of having a similar feeling to when I actually tore it.
Okay. So I want us to remember that, because when we come back to it, that means your number one issue is just actually really clear. And so, from a volleyball standpoint, does the wrist issue limit you from being able to play?
Yes, short answer is yes. It doesn't limit me in being able to spike, but a little bit in blocking, depending on how it's feeling that day, that week. And then mostly in kind of that receiving when I have to pass it with my hands and it's that rapid extension. And there have been times in the past, call it 3 months, where like I've been able to do that a couple of times in a match and it really hasn't bothered it. And then there's been other times where I do it one time and it seems like it's just, a whole nother 2 week setback.
Okay. All right. So we have two big ones. Are there any other issues that would set you back to where you can't perform well?
Those are the main two. I've got a little bit of shoulder pain going on and a little bit of knee pain going on, but at least as of recent, those have not limited me in my performance.
So the next question is really, what's the first step in building a system that is going to stop recurrence? The first one is it getting really clear on which ones are almost like non-negotiables. We have to make sure that your tissue capacity gets higher. So if your calf gets set back and if your wrist gets irritated, those either flare-ups or lack of good management tools in the moment are your issue. And it's pretty clear that you can do treatment and you can go to it, but if your physical past capacity is high enough that you overwhelm treatment. Does that make sense?
Now, what do you mean by that?
We call it a therapeutic gap. And we've talked about it a few episodes ago, but the idea is that if we're really talking about tissue capacity, you can imagine tissue capacity as kind of this, like this is your tissue capacity. And your capacity can improve if you do therapeutic treatments to it. They can allow it to heal. Another thing that you can do is you can take out triggers. Like if you reduce triggers that cause your tissue capacity lower, that'll also help it to get higher. But if you don't maintain a gap where your therapy, the stuff that makes the tissue heal, and the triggers are separate, meaning like if you trigger it and you can trigger it so easily, if you play really, really hard, you can overwhelm any therapeutic activities that you're doing.
I see what you mean.
If we don't keep that gap, you don't continue to heal. And so I know this is kind of crazy, but people with a higher physical capacity, people who've played professional sports, people who enjoy exercise, people who've been physically active habitually, you can have a huge gap between your tissue capacity and where your physical capacity is. That gap between those two, the bigger the gap is, the easier it is to hurt yourself and feel like you're not doing anything that deserves you to be hurt. Right?
Makes sense.
The other one is that if the treatments that you're doing, but the triggers that you add back in, if they get close to equal, it means that you're always on a line to hurting yourself again because you're not healing anymore. You basically kind of stagnates the way I think of it. And for you, the activity that you like to do, for example, for your wrist, there's very specific movements that are going to force you into wrist extension. And so we know that volleyball is a trigger, right? Which means if we add in any lifting triggers, that just closes the gap. So for you, there's nothing in lifting that we should ever allow to hurt you, because we don't want to hurt it during lifting and then make your gap get even closer when you then play volleyball, because we know volleyball is going to be a triggering activity.
Yeah, so like you're basically saying it ends up being kind of like an even out or a mute point when I could be making therapeutic gains if I reduce my triggers.
Yes, and because tissue capacity is the lowest thing for you. Say if instead, when we had asked your needs analysis, if you said, for me to even make the team, I have to have 6 more inches on my vertical. Okay. Like, and then you didn't say that the reason is because my calf is torn. It's just like, I don't have the physical performance to be able to play the game. Okay. We're going to switch towards physical capacity, and we might run the line and try to keep on pushing your performance. That's not your issue. Your issue is actually your injuries getting worse inside your games and triggering it, which then means we almost solely focus on tissue capacity because that's going to keep you from playing.
Yeah. I
Right.
will say, like, I'm probably closer to the minimum vertical needed
Okay.
to excel, and that's why if I can get that up a little bit more, I will continue to have some dominating force as a weapon on the volleyball court. But I see what you mean there.
Well, and that makes sense, right? We would do glute max, we'd do glute med, we'd focus on quad. We may even do plantar intrinsic, so your foot's more of a spring. But what we wouldn't do is we wouldn't do a lot of calf raises. We also wouldn't do anything that triggers your back because we know that interacts. And so
Yeah.
that's where like you can look at your body inventory, look at your needs analysis. You look at those together, and then once you see a mismatch, and you have such a large mismatch, it's just so critical to realize the more you enjoy a sport, the better you are at it, the higher your physical capacity, it can really make a tissue capacity issue get dramatically worse without realizing.
Did you come up with these either hypothesis or conclusions after looking at my workouts?
Yes, I looked at your workouts because so he had sent me his workouts earlier in the week when we were discussing his change of heart, and there are multiple things that I think would interact with your back and with your calf that then I think would make you more susceptible to cramping and irritating your back. So yeah,
Especially done at high volume and high load.
yes. And understanding that you don't typically get feedback loops. Like one of your big issues is that the more that you get into a workout, the less you can tell if you're hurting yourself. You will make decisions that I think if you weren't exercising in the moment, you would not make.
That's very apparent with my box jumps last night. I was all of a sudden I was flying and I was like, I feel great.
Oh, God bless you. Like that's so important though to know that. So you have such a big mismatch though. Your calf combined with your back irritation, with your ability to jump higher, and the understanding that when you feel good, you're going to make bad decisions. That all combines together to mean, okay, we got to have numerous things in place so that you don't make a bad decision.
It sounds like I'm not an easy fix, Craig. Is that a good
Not
characterization?
You're a complicated fix, but but to be honest, this is what makes a rehab plan fun. I always think people should be suspect when they say a single treatment is like the solution. For you, that's not the issue. Like if you went and got a PRP injection, or if you did a cortisone, or if you did really anything, but you don't master this concept, you're just basically going to run yourself into the ground. Like there's a reason we call it a cortisone doom loop. It's a common thing that we see where somebody will start getting cortisone injections, and the first time they get a cortisone injection, it basically completely resolves their pain. Like the most common one that we see is like somebody's knee. And then they get maybe 6 months or a year of relief from it. And then they go back, they get another one. And then maybe it's like 3 months. And then they come back and now it's a month. And then they do another injection and they got no improvement. And partially it's because they basically just knocked out the feedback loop with the knee when they did the injection, and they degenerated their knee the whole time they were getting the injections. And so basically it locks them into this spiral where they eventually get a total knee.
We have talked about that before, and every once in a while I might Google steroids or something like that, but I haven't taken any action on it yet. So
Different type of steroid. Uh, yeah, so I think that the biggest part on that then is first off, that makes sense in your head.
oh yeah, absolutely.
Okay. So I think the biggest part for me, the way I always look at it is I really like to have what's your primary things that are going to limit you from being able to do your activity, link key signs to those activities. And then once we have those key signs, you know how to monitor it, and you can also make your key signs feel better. After we do that, it's really about building volume and intensity based off your tissue's response. So I like to get no symptoms with exercise first with whatever baseline we get. So say you go and do a workout this week and it hurts, I like to cut the volume in half.
I don't think my workout hurt at all last night, but
Perfect.
I took one rest day aside from my normal rest days last week just because I felt so bad after we recorded.
That's totally fine. That's totally fine. I like that. So you have success. So we could mirror your week. Did you have no pain with any of your workouts last week?
I had pain with all of my workouts last week, but not this week.
But not this week. Okay. Okay. So then what I would say is you took some days off. How many days did you take off?
Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, 4 days straight.
Okay. And the workout that you did, was it one of them that you sent me?
Yes, pretty much. It was a
So,
variation of one that you sent me, but it was just upper body. So I didn't, aside from the plyos, which those just randomly happened, and I did pretty good. So
I
I'm
like
jacked
it.
up about it, but I feel like you were judging me for.
A little bit of judgment, but that also tells us that you can handle upper body without hurting your wrist.
Yeah. And even like I think I had told you before that pull ups were hurting. Like it was maybe a 1 or 2 out of 10 on my pull ups compared to
Okay.
like a 5 or 6 last
But
week and the week before.
you realize it's still pain, right?
1 or 2, 1 or 2. You can't even see it on the scale.
So I would say I would call that still pain. And so my brain would go, could you have unweighted your pull ups or done something different so it didn't hurt you?
It was so minor.
I
No, but
know.
probably not.
So then can you do like a bent over row instead?
Yeah, but I'd imagine it would present pretty closely to the same. I guess
Maybe.
depending on the weight, maybe. I
Can
haven't
you
messed with too many bent over rows.
have you guys used like straps or anything to use as like an artificial stabilizer or a tool so that you're not gripping as hard?
No.
So then another idea is we could think about using something to take out any loading or gripping that's hurting you. It's like a
Yeah.
strap. So any pain means that wasn't a good workout, right? So like that's our top thing because your wrist pain is the most important thing, second to your calf. Does that make sense?
It does.
My strong suggestion is to find two workouts that you're able to do, minimal variety that you test and have no symptoms with. And you can keep it relatively basic at this beginning part where it's 3 sets of 8, 4 sets of 8, so that we don't need to do any scheming because the scheme doesn't matter. We're just building exercise tolerance to the injuries that you have.
Makes
So
sense.
once we have that down, then like to really add intensity, and I really want you to continue to monitor your key signs. Like that's the biggest thing. And once your body's showing that it can handle load, then we can add variety, then we can add periodization, and then we can start to switch more towards a physical capacity. But this beginning part, it's all about building tissue resilience. Make sense?
Makes sense to me.
Cool. So do you have a key sign for your calf and for your wrist?
The wrist is usually just extension by itself, depending on kind of how injured it is based on mostly just playing volleyball. Sometimes it's very easy to use as a key sign because it's, flared up or swollen or, whatever you want to call. And so as soon as I push it into extension, I kind of feel it immediately. But like right now, I'm in a little bit more of a rest scenario. So like I can feel it, but it's not as bad as it is at other times, if that kind of makes sense.
It does make sense. Does it make sense to you that it shows that the reason that it started to feel like it's healing is because you took the triggers out and
Yep.
the stuff that you're doing has caused a therapeutic gap, so it's healing? The exciting part is it tells you that you have the treatment that you need if you can make it so you quit triggering it as severely.
Right.
And with lifting, you can't have any triggers because we know volleyball will spike it, like it'll make it
Yeah.
worse. So I just like in your brain, you have to think of it over and over again. So your two are gripping strength, are those, and then I guess three, wrist extension.
Yeah.
And are you still taping?
Yeah.
Okay, beautiful. And then for the calf, what's your key sign?
That one is just tougher because it's been a problem for so long, like years and years and years, where it's really hard for me to like. I guess if I'm playing, I can get to that pain point pretty easily. Like as long as I play for, I don't know, 2 to 3 hours, and I don't do anything in between there to kind of help manage it, then the pain is going to come back. Like I think I told you last week, I went and did like sets of 70 with like maybe like 135-pound calf raises, and like it wasn't until 70 that I started to feel something.
Okay.
So like I can push, I can still push it really hard. And before that, I was doing like 400 or 500 pound double leg calf raises, and then you had suggested moving to single leg, and then I just wanted to kind of test that capacity and see where it was at single leg. And I mean, I was able to push it pretty hard before feeling anything.
So we can do a couple things from that. The first one would be it doesn't when you don't have a good key sign, it's really useful to find a key sign. So for example, what you can do if you want to in like a safe environment is do that calf test again, like where you do that much calf raises. And throughout it, you could try doing neural flossing.
And see
You
if
could,
it like if 70 in neurofloss or maybe 35 in neurofloss, and then do another 35 and see if there's a difference at, yeah.
yeah. And then your progression would be okay, that say that helps. Then you could do it to 50 and then do your neural flossing. And so you can actually increase your total volume. My favorite way is to find a key sign. If it starts to change around 70, you probably got a signal that you would have caught the key sign with like 50. And so a key sign is so useful because you can catch that you have an issue before it blows up on you, which is what's happening during your volleyball. So then my idea would be in your training, you could train the calf, but the idea is that you're training the calf to not have a bad response. And so you want to really build up your volume and make sure that you know when it's going to happen. And I would try to get the volume to be almost as close as you can to what a match would be. So how much time that would take, like that could be a thing that you're really trying to build volume to and focus on periodically neural flossing, treat your back, and then go back into doing something that would typically trigger your response.
And I think that's probably been the most difficult for me, is just trying to mimic that, competitive gameplay. It just, to me, it seems unachievable in a gym. And that's why I was like, well, let me just try going like crazy balls to the wall, as you put it again, volume. Like, let me just see how many of these things I can rep out before, I start to feel it. And I mean, it took quite a few more than I was expecting, because normally I'm in like the, 10 to 20 rep range if I'm going like a little bit heavier weight. And then, in other days where I was just, trying to hit a little bit higher reps, maybe the 20 to 30 reps, I'd go, low 2 to 300s and still be able to get 30 out double leg, no problem. But then, yeah, when switching to single leg, it really kind of helped me identify where those limits were.
That's a good point, though. I mean, so you did find something that gave you a signal that you can work on.
Yeah.
So that's totally viable, and you can see if that improving also improves how it feels during your gameplay.
And then flossing in between matches is something that I think I just need to like program my brain to always
Always.
do. Yeah.
You have to always do it because we know that that's like the most useful thing, and we know that you're most likely getting a signal before 2 hours into your games. So if you had a better sense of testing back extension or trying to touch your toes causes you to feel a little stiffer during the game, you know your back's getting irritated during the game. You could also do traction before the game if you had time. You could do the neural flossing immediately. Like there's all these different ways you could do it, but if we're looking for key signs, you want to start checking them more frequently, things that are positive once you start to have symptoms. Like, have
Yeah.
you noticed that once it starts to hurt, do you have symptoms of like low back extension or toe touch?
I haven't noticed anything back wise in quite a while. So, knock on wood, I'll probably have back pain tomorrow, just because you
No.
said it. But, but yeah, it seems like my back has been doing okay recently. Which before, anytime I had the calf pain, like I pretty much always had something going on with my back, and so it's just interesting that seemingly that back stuff has resolved, from at least from a pain scale perspective, but the calf thing still persists.
Yeah, I think another test you could try doing would be like a slump test, the one where you're sitting
Yeah.
and you basically pull. Yep, we could see if that changes as well. But your idea is that once you have a good key sign, you want to find a key sign. If you once you have it, every single time you do it, you want to make sure that you make it better if you start to notice it.
Yeah. All right. If you haven't done so yet, subscribe to the podcast. We love creating this content, and the more subscribers we have, the more time we can commit to the Past Your Prime community. What's next?
Well, I think the biggest part with this is you have the key sign, you have an understanding of what's the most important thing for you building capacity and getting how to get workouts going so that you actually have a good response. So it's really clear that your body's handling it and you understand 0 out of 10 means no pain, not 1 out of 10. Uh,
Oh, we'll get
I love
there.
it. Now after that, to me, it's really understand the purpose of a warm up and a cool down are very different when you're in tissue capacity mode, like where you're really trying to build it. The first one, when you're doing the warm up, the idea is that you are actually checking key signs, and then you're not done with the warm up till you make your key signs negative.
That seems difficult right now, but maybe I can get there.
Well, and you kind of think of it too. If you're not constantly hurting it with your workouts, the warm up gets easier and easier and easier.
Yeah, and that's
But
like with the groin adductor pain that I've been having. I've been using the foam roller in between my legs as an isometric, and
okay,
like I can still feel it, but man, it's probably like 80% better than it was a month ago. So it's one of those things like I can't get it to zero right now, but it's continuously getting better. Kind of same thing with my wrist. I can't get it to a zero, but it's been continuously getting better. So um, yeah, hopefully I'm still on the right track with some of those things, but getting them to zero tomorrow doesn't seem obtainable.
I think that's a good point. So there's going to be some of them. If you're still hurting, then you just make sure though during your workouts, nothing can cause it to feel worse in your workout
That makes sense.
because then you're only making it harder for your body to heal in the future.
Yeah.
And then the cool down gets your key sign to be negative. So check it again and make sure that it's not positive. And if it's positive, you have to resolve it. And it's getting into the habit that you don't make yourself worse on workouts that are supposed to make you better.
I was prescribed 5 minutes on the bike and I did it last night for my cool down.
Did it help?
And then I went and got in the sauna where it's very hot and feels good. So
Ooh, feels so good. Feels so good. So when you do have a key sign go positive, what's your normal reaction?
am I supposed to have a reaction? I sadly don't.
Oh, good Lord, man. You make it better. So you do one of the home plans, you try one of the things that you've found to be helpful. If you have a key sign or you have an injury that's not getting better with the activities that you're doing, you either have to game plan it or you have to work around it.
And I was thinking about that from like when I'm at the gym perspective, but like if I'm in a match, I take that slightly differently. Then I way more think to apply my home plan and do my flossing. And there have been times in the past where I was at a tournament and it's like I would, have my XL band with me and be able to go do some back traction because that's when my back was at least a larger issue. I'm sure it's still contributing now, but yeah. So I think of those things more like when I'm playing, like when I'm at the gym. I'm not competing, so it's like I feel like I have less to lose, but maybe that's a misconception I've got in my weirdly functioning brain.
Well, it's even more when you have more time, it's even more important that you make it feel better. And then my brain also goes to if you're going to be in competition, you have to assume the competition is going to cause it. So you should have maximal amount of the tools. You should assume that you're going to irritate it, so you should be doing things for it immediately. You shouldn't wait till it turns positive. So you should be
Right.
doing the flossing immediately. You should make sure that you're resisting or you're putting on tape so that you can't go into as much wrist extension. All of those things are critical because you know that you're going to be overloading it. Like that's part of the sport that you're going to be doing because we know volleyball is going to be a trigger and we're no longer going to allow lifting to also be a trigger which then takes away your therapeutic gap, which means you're not healing anymore.
Yeah, and I think it seems like most of this is things that I should be doing in the gym when I'm lifting. And I would say that I have the most control over that. I have the
100%.
least auto regulation or good
Yes.
intuition in terms of doing those things. And that's why, yeah, based on last episode, it's so hard to kind of have a prescription for a workout and to stick to it and to not stick to it, I guess, more or less.
Yeah. My 2 cents. So after hearing all of that stuff, just to kind of pull it all together, your program is pretty basic, and I would limit it to 2 strength routines, period. I would have the warm up where you include your key sign checks for your calf and for your wrist. 100%, they need to be checked every time. And then no exercises can cause those two injuries to feel worse. The wrist, you're already managing it really well. Like it's having a healing timeline, and you're doing things that make it worse. So you don't want to step out of the plan that you and your PT with Sarah have developed, but don't make unforced errors with the things that you want to do to improve your performance, because we've already discussed that the thing that's going to make your performance to get to the highest level right now is not making those two things worse.
And being injury free. Yeah, I think that's what
Yeah.
hit home with me most. Last episode was just that, yeah, like if you can go into whatever a match or a volleyball session or, whatever your individual sport is, feeling great, you should, in theory, perform slightly better.
Mm-hmm.
You already know my internal struggle is trying to continue to push that performance,
I love it.
but these things are going to conflict, and I think that's the maybe the little breakthrough I had last episode was just that maybe there's a little bit of sacrifice in terms of, let's say I lose 5% of my performance capacity, but overall, if I'm feeling better, I'm going to be able to perform longer and ultimately, yeah, pain free, which I think is the goal for a lot of athletes.
Well, and I would say first, it's debatable that you're even going to lose 5%. And from my experience, you probably start to play better because you don't feel terrible. So you're also going to get a gain from just not hurting all the time.
Yeah.
So when you're now building now your workouts themselves, you need to make sure every single exercise does not cause pain, and you limit variety. I don't care about variety at this point. Like, I want it to be exercises that we know do not cause symptoms, and try to get one exercise out of the six each workout for right now. So lower extremity pull, lower extremity press, upper extremity pull, upper extremity press, core, and split leg. So during the course of a week, so pick three of them, hit it during your first workout, pick the other three, hit it in your second workout, and do simple volume, like 3 sets of 10 with loads that do not bother your body. And then every week that you master your key signs, your body continues to feel better, you have less and less pain, then we progress. But we don't progress until you feel really, really good. Because if we start to add, we're just adding on top of dysfunction and pain. And at the end of the day, we're just basically making it so you can feel worse.
I don't want to feel worse. I want to feel better. So you're saying three out of the six exercise variations and just one exercise for each.
That's where I would start. And like,
Okay.
say this first week you do it, and I wouldn't have jumping be a part of it.
That's okay. I've been mostly pulling jumping out of my workouts just because I had all of those in there for when I wasn't jumping competitively. And now that I am jumping competitively once or twice a week,
Yeah.
it's not as necessary. I still get that little competitive nature when I see folks doing box jumps. I got to go try them,
Oh,
but I
good
can
God.
try
Yeah.
and resist those urges.
But that's how it starts you. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think it sounds doable. It's honestly, it should be easier than what I'm doing currently because I'm currently just killing myself in the gym, 3 to 5 times a week. And so, like, from a 75 hard perspective, which we might need a quick little update on, like it's not hard to do things that are easier,
That makes total sense.
right?
Yeah. 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 I mean, it's 75 hard's going really well. I've
What day are
got
you on?
exactly 3 weeks left. 54.
Wow, 21 days left. All right,
That's it. I'm going to kill it. We're going to knock it out.
you're looking good. I
Thank
haven't
you.
seen all of your photos yet, but I'm looking forward to it massively.
I'll put them all on Instagram. That's a lie. They're not going on Instagram.
Yeah, I'll create you an IG at Craig Smith Hard.
Dude, so dumb. I think that's a good
Alrighty.
place.
Yeah,
Yeah.
good place to end it out. So if you're listening and frustrated by your injuries that keep coming back, it sounds like the fix isn't lifting as hard as you can every day of the week. Probably need a body inventory, like we talked about. I think you referenced a needs analysis, and your tissue capacity is extremely important there. It sounds like I've got some work to do on my key signs. And that's how I'll stop living a cycle of flare ups and finally build some confidence in my body that I won't live a broken life. Alrighty. Like, comment, subscribe. Check out pastyourprime.com. You can subscribe to our Instagrams. I'll post that cool box jump here in a day or two so that I can prove that I can still hit a 56-inch box jump even if I am broken. But maybe I'll hit 58 if I'm not broken. I guess
Good
we'll have to
God.
wait and see.
PYP, baby.
Alrighty. Peace.